Good evening, campers, dreamers, and babysitters. And yes, we are here with another little special video for you guys. Yes, as we have stated before, and for those of you who've been around on the channel for a while, you might realize that, yeah, we've already talked about this movie. We saw it, of course, at Fantastic Fest. And just like what we did with The Origin, which is now Out of Darkness, we figured we would come back, do a short little kind of updated review for the film now that we've kind of got it more of a streamlined kind of plan and idea here. You know, we were still kind of figuring things out back when we did that. I'm also not very happy with that video because I think the music is too loud. So, you know, this is kind of the perfect opportunity now that this is going to be gracing limited theatrical screens and also going to be on, Fandango at home. Is that what they're calling it now?
I think
Basically
so.
PVOD. You're going to be able to pick this thing up on Amazon or Vudu or whatever this Friday. And because this is a movie Luke and I are very fond of, we figured we'd talk about it a little bit. So, Luke, take us away with Last Stop in Yuma County. How are you feeling about it? How do you think everybody should be feeling about it?
I'll tell you personally, I'm very excited for general audiences to be able to see this thing. This is something that's popped up in film discussion for me since we've seen this film, and I've been recommending it, even though it's not out. But it's been always my closer of when it comes out, you got to make sure you see it. So I'm really excited. This one's gonna be hitting some theaters. I think that's gonna be absolutely worth it. It's at whatever the ticket price is, it's gonna be a bargain to go check out this film because from beginning to end, it is so well constructed. Just from the writing standpoint, cinematography, just the way the story comes together in general, and from where you start to where you finish, you're gonna say, "How the hell did we get here?" And it's just in the absolute best way.
Yeah, this, for those of you who don't know, is a crime thriller. So this is not a horror for us, but this does kind of fall into, again, our kind of wheelhouse of tackling kind of off the beaten path genre films.
And it has a lot of
Um,
dark elements.
it does. Yes, it does get pretty dark. But to kind of give you guys a little bit of a back story on this one, while stranded at a rural Arizona rest stop, a traveling salesman is thrust into a dire hostage situation by the arrival of two bank robbers with no qualms about using cruelty or cold hard steel to protect their blood-stained fortune. And yeah, that's a pretty great descriptor. It doesn't give anything away at all. And that's the best thing about this movie, honestly. We went into it knowing nothing, as you do with a lot of these film festivals. And that's really, I think, why I stepped away so blown away by it. It's a very well constructed film, it's very well acted, everything across the board for a feature debut was super strong. There's so much energy in this movie, but I do love the fact that it seems like in this and in the marketing, they haven't given everything away. They've barely even told you what's going on, and you're going to be able to piece the story together, just like we did the first time we saw it.
Yeah, and even if you knew exactly what was going on, you would not get the flavor of this film. This is something where you need to watch it, you need to sit down and, kind of almost be with these characters and just like listen to them speak, understand the character dynamics of where they're going. Because, when you look at it, you could say, maybe that story hits with me, maybe it doesn't. It really depends, but it's really experiencing this one where, we have so many great actors in here. Richard Brake is someone we talk about on the channel all the time since Barbarian's his big thing, his big claim to fame for us anyway, since we've seen that lately. But he's great. There's a lot of great elements into this thing. It's a very beautiful film. Jim Cummings, we've talked about him. I more so off screen, I think, because that Wolf of Snow Hollow came out prior to us doing this. But he's always a discussion piece with us as well. Just a lot of great things going on here. So even if you knew what was going on, you really have to watch this thing to understand the character dynamics and where they're going with the story, because it's something that it's presented so uniquely that it's just so well crafted from Francis Galluppi. And I mean, we talked was it 2 weeks ago about he's doing the
Yep.
new Evil Dead film, and most people had no idea who he is. And then once this comes out, I think a lot of people are going to be jumping on to actually check this thing out, kind of get get an idea of what they're in store for the next Evil Dead film. And I think, we talked. We were so excited that his name was attached to that Evil Dead film. So I don't think anyone's going to be disappointed with this.
Absolutely. And that is kind of another reason why we wanted to give you this updated review, as well as to let you guys know that this Sunday we're going to be dropping a spoiler review for Last Stop in Yuma County. I know you guys have been big on us doing that, and we finally got to kind of piece some things together to make this happen, which is something that I want to do more of. I know Luke and I would love to do this every time. It's going to be kind of difficult because obviously they're busy people, but we actually are going to be sitting down and doing a spoiler review with the director himself, Francis Galluppi. We talked for about 45 minutes about this thing, and yeah, we really get to dive in and ask him kind of some questions about his process and just where the twists and turns went when it came to Last Stop in Yuma County. Because yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here that you guys will not see coming, I'm telling you, and I'll leave it at that. But again, for me, the highlights for sure are the cast in this. The writing in general, I think, is very strong, and the cast just eats up this dialogue. Particularly, I want to give major praise to Jim Cummings as our knife salesman, as he's listed here, and then Jocelin Donahue as Charlotte. But really, I could sit here and praise each and every one of these actors. They're not huge names. Nobody in here is like a massive standout. Like obviously, like Luke said, we have Richard Brake, who a lot of folks are going to know and recognize. And there's a lot of those folks who are recognizable faces, but they're wonderful, really well cast, well realized character actors. And that is one of my favorite elements of this film, is that it's a great script and you have a great cast who's just chewing up this dialogue, chewing up this scenery. This feels very much, and I've been saying this a lot, like a Coen brothers, I'd say with some Tarantino elements to it, in the lightest sense, because I know his style is very distinct. But it really just takes a life of its own, and I absolutely adored it when we saw it.
Yeah, especially when you go into the character aspect here, you definitely see some shades of Tarantino with that dialogue and just kind of how razor sharp it is and how, they can get lost in that conversation, character wise, as well as the audience, because it does feel like you're sitting down in a booth with them. You have Faizon Love, Gene Jones, a lot of familiar faces, like you said, that you'll recognize as soon as they pop up on screen. And, they don't have the biggest parts, but I'll say Francis Galluppi made them count when he was writing this and directing, because they all get their moments. And it's just lovely to see this cast come together, because that's what makes this film. It's such a odd dynamic of when you start understanding of what is going on and how all these characters end up in one spot together, and just the dynamic that we're going through throughout the film. It's something that is fun, but also very dark. And the way they kind of balance that dark comedy with that thriller and crime aspect of it, it really is such a knockout of the park, because this is something, as we're talking about this, I've seen 4 times. And, you pick up something different every time you watch it. That's why I'm excited for an audience to finally be able to check this thing out. And it's one of those things where I say I'm going to recommend endless rewatches on this thing, because every time I watch it, I love it that much more, because I pick out something different, or I find a different aspect to a performance. There's a character, Gavin, which I absolutely love in here, and I think a lot of audiences will as well, just because of that comedic aspect to it, but also some seriousness. And as we released that interview, I mentioned, as we were talking to Francis Galluppi, that there are 2 spots in here that make my heart sink, just from an audio perspective. And it's very hard to do that, and to do it almost only a few minutes apart is just something that's absolutely outstanding. So I already talked about the Evil Dead, but going back into that is like, implementing those elements to a crime thriller, and what he calls a dark comedy, and then translating that into a straight up horror film is just going to be tremendous.
Yeah, I think the best way I can really sum this movie up is it's a little bit old fashioned, mixed with some really fresh and exciting elements. And I it's just one of those things that I really do sit back and think about a lot, especially when it comes to some of our own projects. I mean, this is a film that since we saw it at Fantastic Fest has been strong on our minds, and is something that I'm definitely going to be owning, definitely going to be watching pretty regularly. I'd say it's just one of those films that I feel like will get picked up. I could easily see this being like a Criterion release later on
Hmm.
down the road, especially if it's just playing in select cinemas now. But yeah, there's so many elements to this that, again, feel familiar. They feel old fashioned, but they also feel very fresh, very unique. And I think it comes down to the writing. I think this is one of the strongest written films that we've covered on the channel thus far. And I can't say enough positive things about Last Stop in Yuma County. And if you need to get some kind of, clarification or some kind of like, oh, these guys are just hyping this up because they spoke with the director. No, we actually gave this our best spot, top film of Fantastic Fest back when we saw it. So we are 100% with you guys here. And I just got to say, this is again coming out this Friday. Please go check this out. I don't want anybody to miss out on seeing this film. I really want people to support this film, especially because now that we've gotten to know Francis Galluppi a little bit, we've gotten to speak with him. The dude is honestly a great pick for Evil Dead. And I will tell you this, he's a horror fan through and through. And I cannot wait to see what he does with that and other projects in the future.
Yeah, he's a big Halloween 3 fan, so, he already gets a win there. But, this is something where we've seen a lot of great films over the last 5 months here. And if you're a person that likes those bigger general audience films that, you're going to the theater and you're seeing them play in ads and everything, and you don't really want to take a chance on a smaller film, or you're kind of stingy about going, you only want to do a handful of smaller films, I say Last Stop in Yuma County is going to be absolutely worth it. If you're going to see one smaller film this year, it's got to be Last Stop in Yuma County, because this is such a well-crafted film. It just is an overabundance of flavor from the filmmaker. He really had a handle on what he wanted to do and that story that he wanted to tell here. From that writing perspective, the characters are phenomenal. They're so lucrative. So I got to say this, we're not giving it a rating here, but this is easily a must see for me, because, one of the strongest films we've seen this year. This is something that I will defend. If you want to critique, honestly, you're not going to get it from me. I'd be scrounging. It'd be such a stretch for me to say something negative about this film, because it is just so well crafted.
Absolutely. But alrighty, guys, that's all we're going to say for now. Again, tune back in on Sunday after you've seen the film, or at least wait till after you've seen it before you watch Sunday's video. Again, we're sitting down with Francis Galluppi, talking all spoilers, so you do not want to get this thing spoiled for you. Again, it's so worth your time, so worth the investment. And yeah, I'm very excited to continue talking about Last Stop Yuma County for many months and hopefully years to come. So yeah, I guess that's gonna wrap us up here. We got a lot of great stuff up on the channel. Just debuted a new series that I've been working on called The Scenes That Scarred Us. Talk about Terrifier 2 and one of the most grueling and infamous scenes in horror history there. And yeah, we got a lot of great stuff coming up as well. We did just speak about The Strangers, and we're gonna be doing a lot more with The Strangers coming up soon. So alrighty, until next time, I am Dylan Newell.
And I'm Luke Janesco.
And remember, stay scared.
Do the hard shit, gonna do it live. Cause Splattercast kick it every day they live. Splattercast,